Willie and are a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect those of KNLY 91.1 FM, The Boss, and affiliates.
Welcome everybody to Superhuman with Dr. V and Jason Phelps. I am Dr. V. I am a board certified family nurse practitioner and doctor of nursing practice and owner of Core Sports Health in Conroe. You will be seeing our commercial today, so I'll let that speak for itself. So super excited about that. And with me always is my buddy Jason Phelps, owner and TWC Prep in the Woodlands, our go-to for training and nutrition. And tell them how they can find you.
Yeah, it's going to be a good week. We're going to have some fun today. We're going to have a just open book conversation today.
These are my favorite shows because there's no data and there's no script and there's no all the things that we need to go through, and it's just basically a conversation on health and wellness. And today we have a really special guest, a friend of mine that, we've been friends for, we've known each other for many years. And it's Mr. Ike White, and we're happy to have him on. But we're going to really talk to him about his health journey from cancer, and I'll let him talk about that, from cancer to health and wellness and where he's at in that journey. All the barriers that everyone deals with, not just him. But then I really want to talk about Pescador 419. I'm really excited about his brand and the story behind that is really cool. Really want a lot of support behind that for him, and also he's an insurance agent, so we'll talk about that, where to find. So he does everything, but basically, welcome to the show. We're just gonna kind of just sit back and have a conversation, and the first thing I really want to do is just kind of have you introduce yourself. Start kind of with that the original cancer diagnosis years and years ago, and then we'll kind of move forward and kind of talk about where we're at. So go ahead and let the listeners know.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's awesome to meet both you guys here in this environment and get to kind of tell about our story a little bit for those who don't know. First of all, I was diagnosed with cancer, leukemia, ALL leukemia, in January of 2000, and which at that time I was 22 years old. And had no history of cancer in my family. I had no, symptoms that were really clear cut. Right. So for the previous 2 months, I went to a hematology clinic at the time. Imagine it, a 22-year-old with no insurance, right, and having some type of mysterious illness. So I went to a hematology clinic every Thursday, and at the time I was living in Indianapolis, Indiana. And they couldn't figure it out because they knew something was funky in the blood, and finally they decided to do a bone marrow biopsy, which
was fun.
I would say probably no disrespect to anybody who's been through childbirth. There's some really painful things in their life, but for me at the time, and still this day, it's probably the most painful thing I've ever had.
Yeah, I've heard those are just awful. I've never been subjected to one, thank God.
Yeah, and I hope you never have to.
Yeah.
So I went to Indiana University Cancer Center, Cancer Pavilion. A lot of people have heard about Lance Armstrong. That's where he received his treatments from a different oncologist. But they diagnosed me, and they said, you have to come in and start induction therapy right away. So, kind of fast forward, and I guess I'll come backwards to it. Early on this year in 2020, this is my 20-year anniversary of being cancer-free. A lot of the COVID-19, a lot of the coronavirus, stay at home, shelter in place, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. It was very eerily taking me back, 20 years to that time when I was only allowed to have 2 visitors a day. I had to very much be aware of people with sickness or infection because I was neutropenic and I had no white blood cells to fight. So anyways, back to the the diagnosis at the time, I started that journey of being a cancer patient. And fortunately for me, my protocol, I didn't need to have a blood transfusion. I had, many levels and different types of chemotherapy in my protocol. But I did have to be, for, the very first induction part of it, I was in a hospital, inpatient, until they wiped out all blood cells. And as most chemotherapies, they don't know the difference between healthy and...
Just all of them.
That's right. So I think I lost... I got down, right now for those, I'm not standing up, but I'm 6'3", 260 pounds today. And in January of 2000, I was 190. And not in a healthy way. Right. Atrophy set in, no muscle mass. But really that started a journey at the time. I was also not a spiritual man. I was not a believer. Kind of that whole mind over matter. And in life, there are going to be situations that come up that you do have to have a good mindset, and you do have to have a good outlook on things. And I very much today believe in visualization and, and the power of that. But at the time, I had very good friend support. I had a lot of people praying for me, intercessory prayer in the background that I didn't know and didn't probably acknowledge at the time because I was kind of young and naive. But my medical team was awesome. My oncologist and hematologist was Dr. Larry Kripe from the IU Cancer Pavilion. They were amazing. They were so helpful, and they really tried everything they could to make you feel comfortable. But during that time, there wasn't a lot of resources. The internet in 2000 wasn't like the internet today.
Yeah, it was the Napster phase of the internet.
Exactly. That's a good way to say it. And I was one of those guys.
Me too.
Yeah. Had some great playlists.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Until they got wiped.
That's right. And then you rebuild them.
And then you rebuild them. Yeah.
But I mentioned Lance Armstrong. I read his book had just come out at that time, I believe, called "It's Not About the Bike," and it really detailed his experience off the bike and how it was as a man going through having cancer, and it really inspired me to change mindset. I went from very lethargic, being inside, no vitamin D, but outside at all, not walking, to really kind of realizing that, hey, I could beat this. And it really, I think that set a trajectory in my life that really started a lot of positive things to happen. But here we are. It's 20 years later. I've been able to father children, which at the time I was not suspecting that I was going to be able to have kids. And because I was 22 years old and not married, they don't ask you if you want to bank. That's the least of their worries.
That's
right. Basically, all they said is stay away from people who are sick and just come back.
Yeah.
Just keep coming back.
So how did you initially, what kind of symptoms were you having that you went to get checked in the first place? 'Cause at 22, there were plenty of times I was just too hungover to function.
Yeah.
And I would have just chalked it up to my lifestyle. But what were you experiencing that made you actually go in and get checked out?
Well, it's a good question. And a lot of early on, so let's say November, the 2 months prior, I started having like lower muscle back pain. And I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't lifting. I wasn't doing anything that should have happened. And then I started having this, what I would call traveling bone pain, to where my collarbones, this chest area was super sore, even to the touch. But the lower back pain, I had night sweats that, anyone who's ever had a fever and you take medicine and your fever breaks, you tend to have like that was a sweat.
Right.
Thank goodness the fever broke. But this was like
Random.
wet the entire bed.
Yeah, these are the cancer sweats.
It was ridiculous and scary, because I would go to bed anticipating something's wrong. So I would put down like a beach towel over my sheet, because I'm washing sheets. And as a 22-year-old, you don't have like a whole linen closet full.
Well, you know when something's wrong. You just know inherently. When something like that's wrong with, you start after a while, maybe in the beginning you try to, oh man, I'm 22. Then the invincibility issue. But after a while, you probably hit that something's not right.
Yeah. And I was very lethargic. If you think in terms of flu-like symptoms, if you hear people talk about being tired, and you hear people talk about like the sweats and the fever, a lot of things that didn't point to any one other thing.
Right.
And so it got so bad to where I started going to a primary care physician, not my primary care physician because I didn't have medical insurance,
Right.
but I went to a clinic or like an urgent care, and I never will forget that they were like, we're going to draw blood, and luckily they had a machine, what is it, the centrifuge machine, where they were able to kind of look at it really quickly. And within an hour of being home, they were like, we're going to send you over to the hematology clinic downtown. And they did a whole ton of tests. They tested for HIV. They tested for anything that you could imagine, because they were like, you have some negative things showing up in your blood, but we're not quite sure what it is. And it just so happened that I was early enough in the, I don't know what you would call it, kind of like the diagnostic testing, if you will, that I was early enough that they could rule out some basic things. But I hadn't had the full-blown white blood cell blast like a lot of your typical leukemia patients would. So it wasn't until after a bone marrow biopsy and they did the smear that where they were able to say, like, yeah, you absolutely have leukemia, and we have to start treatment right away. And that also goes back to the maturation of a 22-year-old. That I think I found that out. I always joke with my friends. I was at a buddy's house. We were watching the IU Michigan State basketball game, and I get a phone call, and they're like, "You got to come to the doctor." And I'm like, "Why? Why can't you just tell me over the phone?" And they're like, "Well, you've got cancer." And that whole processing, of like 3-4 days of, "Well, I'll be there on Friday." They're like, "You don't get it."
Yeah.
But I'm like, "You just told me that I'm going to be in induction therapy indefinitely until I'm neutropenic, until I no longer have that in my blood. I've got a dog, I've got finance, I've got things I got to do, and there's really not a book or a pamphlet
to teach you how to put life on
not
hold.
at all, not at all." And and I didn't have somebody that could say, "Okay, here's what we're going to do," and line it out. It was a tough learning curve, but I would say it matured me quite a bit. Dealing with financial aid of school is one thing. We're talking about applying for Social Security disability because you just got diagnosed with a terminal illness.
Did the school work with you through this at all, or is it something that you made them aware of and were able to kind of like help you through that?
Well, what's weird is that was a very difficult year. In '99, I graduated college, so I was not.
You were already out.
Yeah, I was already out of college. I was in the quote unquote real world, and it was just one of those opportunities to where the hospital that I went to, they had a social worker. And I would assume most major hospitals will have something like that available. And I just started asking questions like, how am I going to pay for this? Just from the very get-go, I was mindful of, I don't have any money, so how do I pay for this? And it just started off, well, you're not technically approved for disability. You don't technically get food stamps yet. You don't technically, you had to go through this process. So it took about 2.5-3 months of just question and answer. And mind you, I'm undergoing treatment. Right. And you're
so
still
the bills are piling up.
Absolutely.
Oh man.
It was a very difficult way to do it starting out.
Now, when did things start to improve, change? How long did that take? How many, was it a year? Was it 2 years?
I was very fortunate. For me, it was, your body was eligible, the protocol that I was on, every 21 days. So basically, you were going to wipe out your white blood cell count. You're going to rebuild it. We're going to give you shots. We're going to give you Epigen, Neupogen, whatever we can to kind of get you back going. And it really took 3 full months. So by April of 2000, after undergoing chemo for the previous 3 months, that's really when my mindset changed. That's really when my belief system kind of like started waking up and forming a little bit. And quite honestly, my body responded amazingly. I had a double lumen Hickman that came out of my chest. You hear about some people, cancer patients, will have a port. The high doses of chemotherapy would have just destroyed my veins. It would have just, going in every Tuesday and Thursday for CBC counts and undergoing all the treatment that you're going through on an inpatient level, not to mention all the poking and prodding every few minutes, because it's a teaching hospital. So you have fellows and residents, and I could always tell how important the doctor was, or where they were
with how many people we had.
How many people were behind him, and then how short the coat was. Always the guy who was in the hallway who can't hear anything. His coat was like maybe 2 inches long, versus the guy who was talking to you had the full-on trench coat, which I joke about it, but I had amazing A+ service, treatment, anything I needed, anything that concerned me. But around that time, it was also when I talk about the mind shift and I talk about changes it was April. I was receiving one of my chemotherapies in my protocol was called methotrexate. And anyone who's ever been around methotrexate, it comes to you in this, the IV bag, the fluid bag, and it's like double wrapped, like kind of like the guy who buys a tall boy at the gas station. It's wrapped in a brown bag because it's so sensitive to light. But it was also one of those toxic. They had hazmat suits when they're putting it on. And here I am as a 22-year-old
Thinking you're putting that in my body.
Yeah.
You're just going straight mainstream, IV, and it's no big deal. But yet you guys are bringing in like double, triple hazmat suit. And that's when I know it seems so naive and I'm almost embarrassed to admit it. That's when it clicked for me. It's like, this is a big deal.
Serious.
This is a big deal.
Well, when did the whole because that's the main thing, and didn't know you back then, but the biggest thing that I can say with you is that you're already at the point where I am trying to get. We've had this conversation spiritually and mindfully, and I remember you coming to me and we talked about, hey, I got the mind, body, spirit, because we have same friends, mind, body, spirit, right? He goes, I got the mind. He goes, my spirit's I got that handled. But body now, how long it was over the course of how many years, the 20-year period basically, where your health just and it does as it does, where we gain weight and we kind of and I don't want to say blow off diet or thing, but just not take it seriously and not take and then we age.
It doesn't take priority.
It doesn't take priority. Health, your health doesn't take priority. And it would be very easy to assume, right? They say, man, I went through cancer, I went through this, and man, from now on, I'm going to take care of my body. I'm going to eat right, and I'm going to do this. But it's very easy to still shift out of that. So, where was the transition, spiritually? Because you mentioned that you weren't spiritual early on, and where was that shift? What caused that shift? What was the catalyst for that? That's
a good question, Willie. I look at me personally. Even now, I sit here and I'm humbled to say that I don't have it all figured out, and it is a process and it is a journey that I'm on that I really am excited about. But I didn't become a spiritual believer. I didn't become what I would say a Jesus follower until 8.5, 9 years ago. And so spiritually, I'm in a totally different place than I was then. You think back to and I admit that I was a 22-year-old immature person, adolescent man, if you will. And I made a lot of dumb decisions, a lot of stupid decisions that, kind of mess up my life for a while. But physically, I think I took for granted the gift of cancer-free. I think I took for granted being a survivor. I got very active with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in Indiana. I was always a part of their walks, or however I could help raise money. I was all about other people, and service was always in me. But it wasn't until probably the last 2.5 years have I really started searching for this physical journey. I think maybe it was 4 years ago, maybe when I met you and really started talking and asking questions. And I think at the time you were really active in CrossFit, and I was very curious about CrossFit. I've always been a competitive person. But I've never been a disciplined person. Right. And I think maybe that's a good way to answer your question is it hasn't been until this year and to where the discipline has really started becoming something I'm seeking. Be it either trying to take ketones and trying to look at what other hormone therapy or what other things can we do, eat this, not that, and really searching and digesting, books and Netflix documentaries and trying to, learn for myself, because I think there's an arrogance that I personally still suffer from that, well, I'm probably no better than that person, even though I don't have the credentials or even though I don't want to believe sometimes. But I think for the first time, similarly to many people who are on a spiritual journey, is I've really started submitting in that area. And, Dr. V has been awesome to help me, through that process and going to core and asking questions and really becoming humble. And I think that's the first step.
Well, it's their second trip. All right?
Yes,
Tell that story. So he came one time.
Had a
We've
false
had
start
that
first.
We
First time?
had that talk, and he, I mean, Ike's an open book. Like Ike, flat out, we have great conversations, and he told me, basically, and what it was, just like that. It was the same. The info wasn't different. The first time, you came to see me, and it was
Slow learning.
probably about 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and it was the same, same things, but it was. I think you weren't ready. We've talked about you may not have been ready yet, and this and that, and but it was the same information, and it's just kind of like we need to do this, and this, and it's just the same, pillars, the nutrition, the exercise activity, the hormonal balance and all that, which is all just part of it, and then all the other kind of intangibles. So,
But that makes a difference. That makes a big difference. Like you just said, being willing to admit that you want to learn is a lot different than, like, I have a friend that always says, Brian says, you got to be willing to say you're going to do it, but it's one thing to do it. You got to decide to decide. And I think for the first time, I came to a realization when a personal opportunity / challenge has been given out. I'm one of a group of guys that's been invited to go hike in the Grand Canyon in October. And I knew when I got invited, physically unable to perform. Like, I can tell you now, I was looking out 90 days. I was like, there's no way I could do that. But it was like, you hear people jokingly talk about fear of missing out, like FOMO.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a chance of a lifetime. I'm never going to go to the Grand Canyon for a hike. I'm never going to seek out, 22.7 miles.
So then it becomes that mindset change, and it's, what do I have to do to get ready for that?
Yeah.
What do I have to do to prepare for that?
And luckily for me, I have people in my life like Willie or others that I'm like, hey, what else can I do?
Yeah.
And right now, I started, I don't know if you've ever heard of a challenge called 75 Hard. And when you talk about being hard, it is really hard. And day 9, I failed. So I'm left with this kind of humility of like, oh my gosh, I got to tell people that I failed when I've asked people for support and I've been transparent about it. But now I'm starting back over.
But you know what? People are more inclined to listen when you talk to them about failures than you are about, hey, I just finished 75 days straight. And most people's first reaction was,
I don't have that kind of discipline.
Or it must not have been that hard, right?
Yeah.
But when you tell me, I didn't make it through the 9th day and I had to start over, that catches my attention. Like, okay, what was it that was difficult enough to where you had to actually start over again?
Yeah.
So explain, what is that 75? You were kind of mentioning to us for the listeners, like you were saying, what is that 75?
So 75 Hard is a challenge. It's just a mental toughness and discipline challenge that I believe Andy Frisella started. So you can look it up. It's on Instagram and everything. But it talks about you have to have 2 45-minute workouts a day. One of them is supposed to be outside. Doesn't matter. It's raining. Doesn't matter what time of year. If you live up in Michigan and you know what I mean, you have to figure it out. Drink a gallon of water every day. You have to have no alcohol. You have to follow a diet. And it's not a diet plan workout challenge. It's whatever you decide.
But you have to do it.
Stick to it.
Whatever it is you're doing, you have to.
And then you have to take a progress picture every day. And if you miss one of those, things, those foundational pillars, then you failed. And you have to say, hey, I failed. Transparency, vulnerability, accountability, and start over. And I look at, for me, this really goes back to how you were mentioning earlier about the mind, body, and spirit, is that there's so many people in their belief. One of their largest obstacles is, I sinned in my life, therefore I've lost it. I've lost it. And it might be salvation, whatever they believe. But I would believe that, we believe in somebody, Jesus and God, that if you fail in life and you are truly humbling yourself and asking forgiveness and you repent not just saying that I'm done, it means I'm turning away from sin, I'm changing. And I kind of feel like that's where I'm at in this crossroads, where I'm at physically, is spiritually I'm good, I believe in it. Through people I've put in my life to help me with the health side of it. I'm 43 years old. I want to be there for those grandchildren that we hope to have one day. I want to be there and active in their lifestyle. But it's more than that. And I guess that's where some of these things have come from. Just saying I need help.
Okay. Well, man, it's a great start to the conversation. Hate to cut to our breaks, but we got to go to word from our sponsor. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. My name is Dr. Willie Villarreal. I'm a board-certified family nurse practitioner, doctor of nursing practice, and owner and founder at Core Sports Health here in Conroe. At Core, we take a root cause functional medicine approach to help you achieve your optimal health and vitality. If you're suffering from any of the following symptoms, we can help you through a comprehensive treatment plan that includes diet and nutrition, exercise and activity, hormonal balance, and stress reduction. For an appointment, please call us at 936-441-2673 or visit us online at coresportshealth.com. Thank you and hope to see you soon.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
It started as a dream. When I was a little kid, I always wanted to have my own restaurant. And it was a dream that finally we had the opportunity to build it here in the Woodlands. And I'm so happy with it.
It's a really authentic Italian food. I try to maintain the most original possible. It's very important. Every day I make my fresh pasta.
Chi mangia bene, mangia italiano. Please come and visit us.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM. It's time to change. If you like country, we play it. If you like pop, we play it. If you like Latin music, we play it. If you like rock and roll, we play it. Because no one does fusion music like we do. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
Welcome back, everybody. We have our special guest, Ike White. We're just going to continue on with kind of his health journey and where he's been. And so want to just kind of finish up with, I really want to get to the Pescador because that's a really cool story where it came from and you know what it's about. But kind of just, you know, we'll touch it. You know, we were talking about the 75 hard that you're doing right now. Sounds hard. Sounds really, really hard. And I'm disciplined. I feel like I am in certain things.
I would say that the two of
things.
us probably are at the high end of the scale in discipline.
Yeah, as far as discipline, but even that, that would be pretty rough.
Well, I think some of it that gets missed is the mental toughness.
Right.
And that's something that we all could probably grow in. And one of the things that's been kind of a blessing in disguise is the challenge to read 10 pages of nonfiction every day. And you told me about a book called
Superhuman?
Yeah, the Superhuman. Yeah.
And it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And through that, I've been able to tell people, I'm sharing with other people, hey, you need to check this out.
Yeah, there's another great one that's just overall, and it's nothing specific. It's called The Body, and it's a user's manual. And it basically it's really cool, like an anatomy book, but it's really neat, like facts and figure. It's just really cool. That's another great book. But going back to the mental toughness, you know, until you hit the higher echelons of sport and fitness, you really don't see that or even get exposed to it. So one of the things that I saw, going back to the CrossFit world, right? So CrossFit is one of these where you can have the same numbers, you can have the same lifts, you can have the same times as your competitors. Once you hit a certain level of competition, y'all are all pretty much the same on paper. So what's going to be the difference between me beating you and you beating me? And that is literally, it wasn't until, I used to be part of Team Invictus, CrossFit Invictus out of San Diego. And so it wasn't until I went there and started training with them, because a lot of people go to a CrossFit gym and they'll sit there and be the best in their gym. And then all of a sudden they go, I'm going to the games. And it's like, man, you have no idea what it takes to get to the CrossFit games or to go, you know, to a high or compete. Not only going to even compete, but win even a local competition, a really big competition. When I started going to Team Invictus, it was the very first thing we did was we met with, they call her their healer. Her name's Heidi Fearon, and you did visualization. You literally laid on the ground and she did visualization before we even did the workout, before we even trained. There were certain mind things that we would do. So it was a lot of visualization. It was a lot of mental training. The thing about it is, one of the biggest ones that always stuck with me is they call them postures of defeat. And you didn't even realize you were doing it. You'd step away from the bar, you'd take a knee and you'd be resting, you know, things like that. But if I'm bent over, so, you know, the biggest thing was, she said, when was the last time that you looked over somebody and they're down on their knee and it meant something good? right? So if I'm in a competition and I'm lifting and the guy's next to me is lifting and he bends over and he's just he's tired, but he looks over at me and I stand there and I'm standing tall. He's like, holy crap! Like this
Did you
guy's
see
not,
that they did a study on that, on the bent over, hands on the knees position?
No,
It took
This
me
was
back to high school. Yeah.
This was like 6 months ago. This came out, and it made me laugh because they actually did a study on recovery based off posture.
Yeah.
And putting hands on knees was the most efficient way to
Really?
recover. And hands above head was the least efficient.
Well,
Like,
mentally,
we've been doing shit wrong. It was
Yeah.
forever.
Well, yeah.
My junior high coaches got on to me all the time.
yeah,
"Get
about
your
bending
hands off
over,
your knees, boy."
bending over.
Yeah.
Well, my big one is like the knee, taking the knee and things like that,
But I think that goes
and
to your point, though. It
Yeah.
shows like the best example of that is Rocky #1, like
Yes.
the 12th or 13th round, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Apollo thinks he's beat him, and he turns around, and Rocky's standing up. He's like, God,
yeah.
what else am I gonna do to
So
this guy?
in a competition, it's
That's why we
kinda
don't
like,
learn from Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just basically goes all that to say it literally is mental toughness, but that's what the Olympians do. That's what they're split seconds, but the difference is mindset, mental training. So, with you kind of health wise, where are you at now? Where you? How much have you lost now? I know you've lost.
I've lost
lost
about
a few.
almost. Let's see.
Just
I started
since-
out at 272, and I'm like I said, I'm at 260 now. But
It's
I think
recomped
you can
quite a
get,
bit.
Yeah, I think you can get fooled in the scale sometimes.
In the scale
Absolutely.
sometimes, yeah.
Especially
So-
bigger
body
guys.
composition.
Yeah, so
Definitely.
clothes fitting differently, or the best thing is my wife saying, "Hey, you're looking good."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't care what the scale says.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
she
yeah.
says that, then I know I'm on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so moving forward, like where do you see yourself? Where do you want to be as far as health? Where do you, because of, again, visualization, what are your goals? Where do you want to be as far as your health and wellness and things like that?
Well, I really feel like this journey has taken me to where I want to be. I want to be confident to know that I'm putting in the effort. And I think 2020 has been an interesting year for me personally.
Everybody.
Yeah, and that's an understanding.
Everybody.
I apologize. I don't want to
Yeah.
diminish that for some that's cruising through. But as a business owner, I've had to encounter some challenges in how we do business, and as a father, as a husband. But spiritually speaking and physically speaking, there's so many things that are connected. And the journey, I don't know if I could honestly say I want to be at this weight or this, I want to be able to lift this much. Because part of the challenge that started was, can you do the hike? And I want to be able to set goals for myself that are attainable, but at the same time, I want to be stretched and pushed because I want to be around. Not that I have this idea of being immortal or like the guy in Superhuman being 180 years old. That's not what I'm looking for. But I want to be able to live my life inspired. I want to be able to live my life with fulfillment. And I think right now, realizing that I'm a 20-year cancer survivor, and I believe that's a God-given opportunity, and I don't want to take that for granted.
Well, it's part of your story. It's going to be part of your story. And
It
the
gives you
thing
a
about
platform
it
on
is,
top of
it
that.
gives you a platform. And here's the other thing too: is I've already seen kind of the before and after, and they're already looking good. And it's a journey, and it's going to be a journey. And the thing about it is, you just kind of touched on what we preach at the clinic, and I preach at the clinic that we're really good now already about extending lifespan. We can make you live longer. But
What's
who the
that
hell wants
quality
to live
like?
longer
Yeah, quality of life.
if
If
your
I-
last
if I'm
10
having to push
years
a walker and
yeah
I can't do things.
if your last 10 years are spent in decline, that's the norm, right? The norm is kind of we decline and we just kind of get more decrepit as we age, and we're changing that. We really want to extend health span, not extend lifespan.
Yeah, that's good.
But that includes your mind, body, spirit. That includes everything.
Yeah.
That includes
Yeah.
everything. My goal is for every patient is to live to your 80, 90 years old or 100 if you want, but with a healthy, with good movement, sharp brain.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, babe, for saying this, but I tell her I joke about it all the time. I said, man, if I'm not, working out and playing with my grandkids and having sex at 90, like shoot me.
What am I doing?
Like for real.
anyways? Yeah.
Like, I mean,
You're right.
and I maybe to an extreme, but the thing about it is I want to be active.
Yeah.
I want to be, and be part of a community. And that's the other thing. Be part of something big, which is a perfect segue because I really want to have everybody support Pescador and see, and it's cool, just really, really cool. Y'all may have already seen it around the Woodlands, around Houston area, around Conroe, Montgomery. It's just you may have seen this logo and not knowing what it's about and ask what it's about, but basically it's Ike's, apparel. It's an apparel line, not just an apparel line, but just a line, right? And it's called Pescador 419. So like, I'll turn it over to you because it's just a really cool story where it came from, and that's one of the big things I wanted to get out today.
Yeah, thanks, Willie. Pescador 419 is really born out of, submitting and growing spiritually. I believe when I say that, it was inspired. Some people will think it's weird when somebody tells you that, well, the Holy Spirit told me this or the Holy Spirit told me that. But I was started in probably June of 2015. I was inspired to make that logo. It's like a abstract pea fish hook. If you look at, you think about the a fish hook in the area.
A lot of people initially thought it was a fishing.
Yeah,
It was fishing.
And in Scripture,
and it is
Matthew 4:19, Jesus said, "Follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men." And being in the Gulf Coast market, pescador, there's many people that are bilingual, they speak Spanish. Pescador means fisherman in Spanish. And for me, when I was a new believer, as I touched on earlier, I wanted to share my faith. I wanted to share this joy. I wanted to share, why do I have peace all of a sudden in my life and stuff's not just chaotic? It was because I found peace in my life. And for the first time, I had a voice behind why and wanted to share it. And what I found immediately were people were so turned off in some just stranger or pseudo friend, kind of coming up to them and just blah, 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 blah. And there was a lot of conviction and guilt maybe, but also just my delivery was horrible. My delivery was horrible. My theology was probably bad, to say it at the least.
Not going to make a lot of friends that way.
Right, absolutely. And it definitely wasn't probably very clear and concise. So Pescador is a way for me to wear what I feel is a very cool, fashionable brand. In a subtle way, the doors started opening for conversation for me to share my witness and testimony with someone. They would ask me, where'd you get that hat? What does it mean? What brand is it? And instantly it changed the conversation from me telling you to you asking me. And we've led people to Christ. We've sent people on missions. And I guess maybe that's the other part I should tell about the story is Pescador. You can go to our website. It's pescador.org. And it's a way that we are able to take people, sell a cool apparel or brand or accessories or any kind of swag, and we take the profits. We're not in this. It is a non-for-profit. It is a 501c3 registered. We take that money and we support missionaries around the world. We've been to Africa, Indonesia, Haiti. We've sent people all over the place. At the end of, or not the end of this month, but in August, we're going to be selling a brand new shirt to support 2 missionaries in Kenya. And we're extremely excited. Yeah, if you scroll down, you're able to click on our shop. You're able to donate.
Are those guys local guys in Kenya, or are they people from here going to Kenya?
They're from Montgomery, and they're already living in Kenya right now. They are what you would say they work or they give their time to Into Abba's Arms, which is an amazing organization that takes care of orphans in Kenya. And Anthony and Chandra Coleman are great people. They love the Lord. And I want to be able to find a way that I can help people help them. And one of the greatest ways sometimes is buying a T-shirt or buying a hat.
Well, didn't recently it funded one of the on the mission trips.
Yeah, in February,
Africa.
In February, a group of us went to Africa and we led a pastors' conference there, and we really got together and just found that there was a lot of needs north of Nairobi in the mountains. We were able to fund and build a children's church. We were able to finish out a church for Deliverance Church flyover there in Kenya, and it was amazing. The relationships that started and the seeds that were planted in me personally as already being a believer. And I started seeing about the opportunities. Next week, I'm meeting with a gentleman who leads a group called GE Missions, Global Europe Missions, to where they want to use this as a vehicle because people have started seeing the power that they like the conversation ability, that they want to start co-branding. Organizations want to start co-branding with us to where on the front of a shirt or on the front of a hat, it'll have our Pescador fishhook logo but then on the back or the sides, it'll have whatever their mission is, whatever they're trying to do. And truly, that's what I see as my ability is. I want to go into local churches, meet the men's group, meet the women's group, meet anybody, and just say, hey, I'm not trying to supplant what you're already doing. I want to come up alongside you. And people want to wear something cool. And it's not trying to say other apparel that are believers is not good or not good. I feel like Pescador is the first brand that I've seen kind of come into the market that is a crossover, where you have an outdoorsman or you have just a lady that she's not a fisherman by any means, but she's like, there's something special about this hat. I want one. And then all of a sudden you start telling them the reason why, and it changes the whole conversation. It changes.
I've had a ton of conversations with it because the hat naturally draws them in, and they ask about the logo, and I just literally just a snippet to tell them what it is and what does 419 mean, and when they hear that, because almost everybody, whether they're a believer or not, they know the story, or as a kid heard, I will make you, the song, I'll make you fishers of men, and things like that.
Absolutely.
So a lot of people know where it comes from in 419.
God's way bigger than me, and he probably has a plan that I'm getting to live parts of it right now. And being invited here to this program is amazing, and I'm so grateful, and I want to say thank you guys personally for giving me the platform. We use social media to try to get people. We're trying to figure out a way how in this busy, cluttered world do you get your hashtag in front of people, and a lot of it is we ask people, if you buy a hat or you buy a shirt, take a picture and post it on your social media, because the people that Jason has that he's friends with, maybe I've never met.
I would say most likely.
And vice versa.
Yeah, that's a great way to expand an audience.
Yeah, and it's the true exponential growth opportunity, just paying it forward. And early on when we started it, one of the reasons we weren't able to give more money is because I would go to sell to somebody, and then I'd end up just giving it to them. And my wife was
I remember.
She's like,
you got to stop giving it away.
You write that off to marmarketing.
Yeah, you got to start selling these things. So that's what we do now. We do sell them. We have an online store.
That's awesome.
We've had some difficulties trademarking this. I don't know if it's because of the attorneys we use or if the space. I don't understand it. But as a non-for-profit like us, what we're truly doing, we don't have money for the legal fees. I don't have the chance to go out there and battle somebody. That's right. So I just
maybe there's somebody listening that's got some info for you on that, and hopefully,
sweet. We'll write into the show.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But so it's one of those things where we have people all the time ask, "Hey, can I get one of those? Can I get one of those?" We don't maintain a whole lot of inventory, because the way I've always felt is if I'm taking inventory and I took money to spend on inventory and it's just sitting in a box, that's less money that I get to put out in the kingdom doing good for people. There's an amazing organization in Conroe called Under Over Fellowship. Jerry Vineyard is the pastor. We were recently able to help him secure a porta-cooler. Everyone knows how hot it is down here in Texas this time of year. That was something that was never on our to-do list for the year. But because we have proud pescadors in the marketplace that they know what we're doing and they know what we're about, every now and then someone will send me a text and just says, "Hey, I'd like to give, do you know anybody that needs something here locally?" Or I'll have somebody that says, "I want to give internationally."
Yeah, and Under Over, for people who know, it's in Conroe, and they support, Jerry's pastor supports. He got basically tired of his story is kind of cool too, but he got tired of the bureaucracy of religion and decided, he's like, why can't we just help people? And so he helps all the homeless and houses and ministers to them, and they actually meet at
is it the park?
The park.
Yeah.
The park
and right now, because of coronavirus, due to city rules
that they can't meet,
they're not able to meet as regularly. But they do feed a lot. They do 3 meals a day, and they have they've been able to really be a positive impact in the community with what little they have. But they're big in spirit and they're big in heart, and they're changing lives. I mean, it's amazing.
Yep. Well, good. Let's head off to our second
break,
commercial break,
and we'll finish off and back in a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Great.
Hi everyone, this is Chef Laurent. I'm the owner of Taste of Paris, a catering company for seniors. If you want to know more about our services, give us a call at 832-415-7374 or visit our webpage at laurentvalsculinary.com. Thank you.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM. We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your Fusion Radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
Hello, my name is Dr. Sadaf Javed. I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist and I see adults also. I've been practicing in the greater Houston area for the past 5 years and my practice is in the west side of town. In these unprecedented times, it is so important to check in with your mental health. Please pick up the phone and call 832-304-7244 or mycognitivepsychiatry.com and we would be happy to help. Thank you.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
It started as a dream. When I was a little kid, I always wanted to have my own restaurant. And it was a dream that finally we had the opportunity to build it here in the Woodlands. And I'm so happy with it.
It's a really authentic Italian food. I try to maintain the most original possible. It's very important. Every day I make my fresh pasta.
Chi mangia bene, mangia italiano. Please come and visit us.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
My name is Dr. Willie Villarreal. I'm a board-certified family nurse practitioner, doctor of nursing practice, and owner and founder at Core Sports Health here in Conroe. At Core, we take a root cause functional medicine approach to help you achieve your optimal health and vitality. If you're suffering from any of the following symptoms, we can help you through a comprehensive treatment plan that includes diet and nutrition, exercise and activity, hormonal balance, and stress reduction. For an appointment, please call us at 936-441-2673 or visit us online at coresportshealth.com. Thank you and hope to see you soon.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
As I told Ike and Jason agreed, the time like literally flies by. I mean, by the time we look, up at the clock, it's 30 minutes into a conversation, and again, these are my favorite because we just get to just talk and chit chat. So like, I do love sharing data and info and all that, but these are a lot of fun. Now in the break we were talking about one of the big probably the only ask, like you said, if you had one regarding Pescador, what would that be?
Well, I would love an opportunity to meet more men and women of different churches. I go to Restoration Church Wood Forest, and I have friends at Grand Central Church and Lone Star Cowboy Church, and I have so many different friends and churches in the greater Montgomery County area that sometimes you forget that there's other places that have not heard your message, and if there's a way that I could get invited to come speak to a group, but whether it be a men's group or students. My wife and I are very active in students ministry at Restoration, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing to kind of see and tell the story with new people. I have a friend that they love barbecue, and they're going to start a new nonprofit organization, So Much Good, and
I know who you're talking about.
He and I were talking about. He loves the Pescador stuff, and he's an outdoorsman, but I don't want to try to take away from anybody else. I want to complement. If you already have an organization, we have a lot of people who are starting to realize that, hey, we can co-brand things, we can do events, we can do social media together. There's plenty of people in this space, because I just want to tell the story, and kind of how we were talking about the mind, body, the spirit, all those things coming together. I want to be able to give credit to all the friends that have helped me out, but I also want to be able to tell them the story along the way. And that's why Pescador is special, because my story, even though it might be similar to Jason's, are completely different. And same for you. That, I mean, we all have a story, and it doesn't matter if you're a teenager in high school or if you're in college or a grown man. We all have a story.
Well, this is a great one to share, you know,
Yeah.
and I think it's
reshare.
something that, you know, having just this idea was a blessing, first of all, and then now how can we spread that and make it something that, you know, you build your army, basically, and that's what hopefully we can help with that today.
Well, and you never know who's going to hear it. You never know who's going to hear the story and be like, wow, that's cool. I like it. Or, hey, send me some of those. You know, there's a lot of influencers in this world, and I'm not trying to sell a product. I'm trying to help someone tell their story. And I feel like that's a big difference.
And that's what we always say is that, you know, my wife and I, y'all are the type of people. So you always want to help the people that you see are genuine. You see that you always know when you're being sold something, and even then you still buy.
That's right.
Like you still buy, but
As long as you see the value in it.
as you see the value in it. But the thing about it is that people genuinely want to reach out and help and do things when they see that it's done for a good purpose.
For me, giving to charity has always been, you know, it's something that I feel, as long as I know where it's going and know what it's doing, I feel much better about it. Giving to a big name brand charity out there, like United Way or whatever it is, yeah, that's great, and I'm sure they need it. But when you look at how much the funds
actually goes
go
to
to doing something for a cause, it's a very small percentage. I'd much rather give to something locally, where I know that, you know, Ike is supporting these folks in Kenya, and that's where that's headed. You know, and that to me, it feels better. Not that I give to charity to make myself feel better, but I want to know that where I'm giving my time and effort and money to is going directly to something that I can look at and say, look at what the good they're doing there.
Yeah.
Well, whenever someone buys a hat or a shirt, we also include in there a card where it tells my story about how I share and why I share, and asks them and challenges them to share not only with others but share with me, because I feel like it's an open conversation that needs to be had. And then we also include a little window vinyl decal, and it's just real simple. And what's fun and rewarding to me, because I guess I need that affirmation, is I'm starting to see people that I have no idea who they are, and I'm seeing cars driving around, you know, 105 or 45 or in the Woodlands.
It makes you smile every time, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm like, holy cow, someone's telling their story there.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, really cool. So this has been a great show. You know, I really hate to cut it off, and we're going to share and reshare. But again, I wanted to show everybody. I mean, it is just, it's real. This one's a new one. I have one of the really, really cool, the Digicamo ones.
Likes those.
I love that one. But this one is a new, I'd say this one's really, really cool. A lot of the fishermen will like this.
Yeah, I definitely would say your fishermen love that one.
Yeah. This one is awesome. But it's just the shirts, and I will tell you, having worn a lot of different apparel, the shirts are the track tees, the real, the tri-blend, and even the hoodies.
And that's
those
the
are
other thing,
really
that
cool.
we have a social conscious awareness about what we're doing. We try to only use products, and we look back to the sourcing. We have a friend, Natul Middlebrook, that she really opened my eyes to fair trade, and she really opened my eyes through hand-up global goods. And I really was kind of naive to that. You know, I was thinking, well, wherever I can get the best price, then it makes my margins better. But really, I started thinking about the sourcing of where things come from. So we use Bella canvas for a lot of our shirts, the hoodies. Even today, I'm wearing a fishing shirt that it's local, and it's not a brand. You're not paying for a brand name. So I'm able to, like you were talking earlier, I'm able to put more money towards the cause and towards the end user. We love it, man. Yeah. It's been an awesome dream, and I feel like it honestly is just getting started.
You know, I'm always happy to have people come in that are putting light out into the world, putting good stuff out into the world. So this has been
Jason
a pleasure.
is the hug you guy in
I'm super
in the Woodlands.
Bring it on.
You wouldn't guess, but yeah.
We love it. That's how we are in our family.
Yeah. Well, man, I really hate to end the show, but again, one last thing. Tell them where you can find Pescador.
Pescador.org. If you just go to www.pescador.org, if you scroll down there, you will see a link to our website. If you scroll a little further down, you can even make a donation via PayPal if you want to.
And Facebook, Instagram, all that.
Yeah, we're Pescador 419. It's maybe a little harder to find it sometimes on Instagram, but if you just look for Pescador 419, you'll see us there.
Awesome.
And we try to use hashtags as much as possible.
And insurance, if y'all have any insurance needs, hey, we're pulling out all the stops. So insurance.
Yeah, I do own an insurance agency. I guess that's what pays the bills.
Yeah.
IsaacWhiteAgency.com. You can go there if you want to and call us up. We have great staff that will help you out. We do personal lines, commercial, life insurance.
Awesome. Well, I'm super excited about your health journey. Where you've been, where you come from, and where you're going. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. I mean, and especially with the 75 Hard now, man, it's kind of piqued my interest. But
Go read a little bit.
I'll read a little bit about it. Yeah, maybe.
These are all things I do already.
Maybe.
But in a
compressed.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the funny thing, and that's a whole nother show that we could talk about. Is what are the little things that you do on a daily basis that you don't do?
Right.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I hate to cut it off. We're going to reshare and share and reshare this show, and again, support Pescador 419 and Ike and their mission, and we will catch y'all next week at 12 o'clock. Take care.
My name is Dr. Willie Villarreal. I'm a board-certified family nurse practitioner, doctor of nursing practice, and owner and founder at Core Sports Health here in Conroe. At Core, we take a root cause functional medicine approach to help you achieve your optimal health and vitality. If you're suffering from any of the following symptoms, we can help you through a comprehensive treatment plan that includes diet and nutrition, exercise and activity, hormonal balance, and stress reduction. For an appointment, please call us at 936-441-2673 or visit us online at coresportshealth.com. Thank you and hope to see you soon.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
The best way to protect yourself from 2019 novel coronavirus is to avoid being exposed